Okay, here we go. I'm back. Inviting everyone on live. I had a little restart here, but the chat works now. So as you come back on, if you want to type into the chat, do let me know you're here. And I'm going to get started with the Know Your Creator type. Grand finale. Okay, I wanted to stand up for this one, be able to move around with you. So the journey that we're going to take in this time together is like this. I'm going to do a review of why it matters to know your creator type and understand the creator energies. Hello. Um, why it's important. And then we're going to take a journey through all five. But the way that I'm going to do it is by connecting two at a time. So we're actually going to connect the east-west axis in terms of the five elements and the north-south axis like this. And so you'll understand how each one of the creator types fits together in time to allow you and support you in being a most robust, rich, jazzed up creator in life, because you have all of the creator types. We all have all of the creator types. Okay, so let's kick it off with why it's important to know and understand the creator types and to know which one you most resonate with. The main reasons why are because when you understand your particular creator energy, it helps you to have compassion and understanding for yourself. It also helps you to understand more specifically what you need to be balanced. And the alternative to this, to not knowing and understanding your type, is that we get lumped into certain categories, particularly within Western culture, that say what success is and what failure is, what productivity is and what non productivity is. And it's very easy to feel guilt and shame over just being ourselves. Maybe the way you create, if you're an alchemist, is to spend a lot of time in meditation, doing nothing. Maybe that's a part of the expression of your productivity. But if you didn't know that and understand that, you could fall into this mindset that you just need to get your ass off the couch and you need to be doing this, this, and this, and you have to have all these Instagram followers, and it's just dizzying and we lose ourselves in the process. So if you understand that there's a variety of ways that I'm presenting five, these five main ways in which we create, all of us, and that actually to create in the full richness of ourselves, we need to be able to dip into each one of them. As well, we need to be able to develop depth in our lifetime in one or two, the ones that we really feel called to. This is what makes whatever we create unique. The combination of our creator energy that we're really connected to and flow well with our unique life experience. And I think the other reason I'll name about why it's important to know your creator type is because it's more fun. It makes it more fun. I've been creating for a long time, particularly content and teaching material. And that brought up some emotion around, because what I was feeling was, for many years, I felt a lot of like a oscillation between shame and pressure to produce in a certain way, or yeah, produce or share or create in a certain way. And that certain way would always be me comparing myself to what other people in that industry are doing. Like when it came to me teaching weekend seminars, it's like, how are other people doing weekend seminars? Oh, you have to structure it like this. You have to structure it starting at 8 or 9 in the morning and ending at 5 or 6. And the beginning of all of the changes for me around this were when this was about 7 years ago. And I felt this hand on my back right here. It actually felt like a hand, but there was no hand there. And I could feel this pressure there for 3 days. And I remember on the third day when I went to go to sleep, I said, I kind of was like speaking to the guides, speaking to the universe. Okay, what is it? What is this? What do you want me to know? And I set an intention to know in my dream time. And in my dream time came just like downloads, like these um, pieces plopped in, and they all had to do with I had been at that time thinking about creating, I really wanted to create workshops in regards to trauma healing and the elements, but I kept trying to create them in the ways of the templates that I had been shown before. You know, you do a weekend seminar, you get CEUs, you talk in this way, you sound important. And in this download in the dream, they showed me no, this needs to be a 9-month container. You're going to meet 4 long weekends over these 9 months. You're going to cover each one of the elements in each one of the long weekends, and then earth element will be woven throughout. Like they were just giving me this totally radically different structure than anything that I had seen before. And then they were showing me how it all fit together, the elements, the trauma, the transgenerational trauma, the work that I had done with my dreaming teacher, the work that I had done with my ancestral teacher. And I remember I got up the next morning and I just knew like I had to get this out. It was like birthing a baby. Like I have to get it on paper. I have to get this into words. And I remember because I went into my healing room in our house and I looked at my husband and I said, "Do not disturb me under any circumstance." And I closed the door. And everything in my mind, everything in my mind was saying, "Get up and go make some coffee. Get up and go clean the toilets." I mean, you know it's getting bad if the subconscious is telling you to clean the toilets before you do this thing. All of these things, and I was just bearing it because I knew something had to come through, and if I got up and let myself be distracted, it would not be birthed. It needed to be birthed now. And once that came through, I wrote all the copy for my what's called my Master Healer program, my in-person Master Healer program. That's what created the Master Healer Academy, which some of you have taken courses from me on. And after that, everything was blown wide open. Oh, we can create in so many different ways. And there's all of these stories that just certain ways can make us successful, just certain ways can pay us good money, just certain ways will be failures, right? We have all of these ideas. What if we just ejected all those ideas out? Just rub your head right now. All the ideas about how you should create, how you should do it, what's right, what you'll be successful with. Just shake it. You can create anything you want to create. And you can flow money for anything that you want to create. All the other stuff is just story that isn't really working for us anyway. Shake it off. What do you want to create? What do you want to flow in from what you want to create? Get clear on this. I also want to say for this particular journey of getting clear on what you want to create, and having support from me. I have a container right now that's open for registration just until the end of September, so for a little bit longer. It's called the Prosperous Circle. I wonder if I can put it in the chat for you right now. I'm going to try. And then I'll definitely put this in the description for this. But yeah, I think I can. Here it is. Check it out. If you're not already in the Prosperous Circle, you should enroll. Um, It is for entrepreneurs and creators and innovators. And I'm also planting the seed right now for Abundant Creator, which starts soon, and more on that later. But all this in service to like when we're shaking all this off, when we're learning to create in different ways, when we're getting powered up in different ways of thinking, we usually need support. That's why I'm bringing this up. We need a circle of people that are thinking differently. We need a circle of people that are doing things differently. When we're looking at layers upon layers of beliefs that we've practiced over and over, thought forms that we've practiced over and over, there is Nothing wrong and no shame in needing support to change that. That's why we have each other. That's why we have containers like this, like the Prosperous Circle. Take the support. Bring your creations through in the way they want to come through. Get paid for it. Do it. That's my challenge to you. Do it, whatever it is, and no matter how big or small it is, or you think it is, do it. Okay, now we're going to take a little journey, a review journey, and I would love if you would do this in your body with me. So that's why I'm standing up right now. And we're going to make some movements as we talk about each one of these, if you can, if your body allows. Right now, do you remember the first one that I talked about? First creator type? If you want to type it in the chat. The first one is the improviser. It has to do with fire element and the south direction. And when we talk about it in Chinese medicine, because of the way the human stands on the medicine wheel or the directions, we actually put the south above. So the improviser is up here. It's the south. It relates to fire element. And the energy of the improviser likes to improvise, likes to move like fire, likes to wiggle around. So do that right now. Just find your improviser. Make noises if you want. If you don't already know what you're going to do, what happens? If you don't already know what you're going to say, what comes out of your mouth? If you don't already know the words you're going to write, what writes you? That's the medicine of the improviser. The improviser has to be unbound and just do shit when they want to do it. And the challenge, one of the main challenges with the improviser is feeling like they need more discipline. They need to be sort of reined in, that they're being too sporadic. And by the way, they can be like, there's a balance that's needed when we're having a creation go all the way from ideation, material creation into presentation to others. There is, and I don't even know if it's about discipline as much as it is a commitment. And what I like to remind the improviser is that your commitment is to being yourself. Your commitment is to being yourself. This is true for all the creator types, by the way, but it's especially good medicine for the improviser to hear. A commitment, because improvisers have a lot of challenge with commitment, your commitment is to yourself, to being you. Give yourself permissions to think outside the box. Give yourself permissions to be wild with your schedule. Give yourself permissions to not already know. Give yourself permissions to that. I have a lot of improviser energy myself, and often when I will lead a retreat, I get the download of what the retreat's about. I get the download of the name, the energy essence of it, and then these, for the last, I would say for the last probably 2 years, maybe 3. I don't already know everything that I'm going to talk about in the retreat. I have a general sense. I've written about it on my website, but I don't have it all planned out because I found that when I was planning it all out, part of it was like my ego wanted to look good and have this cool handout and have all these great things to say. But the other part was that my improviser couldn't be in its robustness if I had it all planned out. Give yourself permissions. Ready? We're going to review the five things that go with each one. So for the improviser, the magic is spontaneity. Okay, we just did that. Spontaneous. The superpower is presence. And this is connected to the commitment to self. The superpower is presence. What I actually, and this is my best advice for the improviser, when you practice presencing with yourself, which you can do through meditation and through intimacy practices, presencing with yourself or with another, you are strengthening your ability to focus. And it's not usually discipline that improvisers need, it's focus. When we learn how, and this is, it takes practice to develop presencing. It takes practice. Come here now. Come here now. You're off in the thoughts. Come here now. What's happening now? Oh, I'm worried. Come here now. Practice. This is mindfulness. Practice. Practice. The kryptonite for the improvisers, do you remember? Deceit. And oftentimes this manifests as self-deception and manipulation, or self-deception and then manipulation outside the self. I talked more, I was thinking about going down the rabbit hole of that, but I'm not going to. You can always go back and watch the improviser video for more unpacking of deceit with the improviser. The theme, this is the theme of my life for sure. Trust. The theme is trust. And it's usually first trusting yourself, because that's where the trust starts. If we can't trust ourselves, we don't actually have the experience of being able to trust anyone else. If we can't trust anyone else, we can't trust Source or God. Trust is the bridge that connects everything to everything. It's the foundation for human relatedness. And this is the theme of the fire element, and also of the improviser creator energy. The hack is play. So when you're feeling off with and remember, even though we each have one that we're stronger in and one or two that we're weaker in, we all have all of the creator types. So the hack always, if you want to get into spontaneity and playfulness and spontaneity and presence, play, make things a game. When you're facilitating something, or when you're creating something, you're doing an Instagram post, or you're writing a this or that, and you're feeling so serious, and you're feeling your worthiness stuff, and you're worrying about if other people are going to like what you're saying, and just start playing a game. Make a game out of it. Make a game out of all the things that feel most serious to you. And this will nourish your ability to be present with yourself and others. It will strengthen your fire. It will strengthen your improviser. It's gold. All right, you ready? I'd love to see your comments on the improviser. Anything you want to say? Oh, beautiful. Grow, I'm so glad you're here. So glad I'll be seeing you soon in Sardinia. Okay. By the way, I feel compelled to say this because I just saw that Grow is here, and she's coming here for a retreat with me in Sardinia. It's on October 1st. We do happen to have one spot left. If anybody has a wild, yes, I think that's for me. It's for Exponential You Retreat. Message me, Tiffany@tiffanycarroll.com. Okay? All right. The Alchemist. So the directions, remember, I know it's above, but this is south for the improviser, and we go down into the north into the alchemist. The alchemist is water element. The alchemist gets this deep voice. There is a kind of gravitas or weight to the alchemist. There is a mystery. There's a mystical nature, but it's not mystical like with the priestess. It's deep. The emotion associated with the alchemist is fear. The emotion associated with the improviser is joy. And the alchemist and the priestess, you might remember me saying this, they tend to struggle the most with really trusting their way of creating, because their way of creating is really for things to go out of form rather than to go into form. So the alchemist is very much about complete emptiness. So how do you, what does the alchemist energy, creator energy look like if creation is to build something up? And the alchemist is about things dissolving completely out of form. It's like, what happens to you when you go into deep meditation and everything dissolves? This is the complete power zone of the alchemist. Everything is nothing. that energy actually is needed by the improviser. So the improviser needs the alchemist to balance it out. You can kind of feel that. If it's you get a bounce down here. Likewise, the alchemist needs some of the fire to bring it up. So the 5 themes with the alchemist are: the magic is mystery or emptiness. The superpower is true power. True power. True power is not control. It's not force. True power comes from emptiness. True power comes from non-attachment. Emptiness. That's the alchemist power, true power. The kryptonite is basically unacknowledged fear. I wrote it as distraction, but when we get pathologically distracted, it's because there's a fear in there that we haven't acknowledged. So if you're doing that, it just happens to me still all the time, where I'm like creating the next thing that I want to be creating, and maybe I feel some pressure or tension around it or whatever. And then I'm just like, oh, I need to fix the clothes in my closet, and I need to do this, and I need to do that. If that's going on when you really want to be creating, then there's unacknowledged fear. So just take a pause. My client and I just did this the other day. It was her idea, and it's such a brilliant idea. She said, Tiff, I need to say all my fears out loud right now because I am fucking scared. As she was on the precipice of making these leaps and launching these new things. And she said, set a timer for 3 minutes and I'm just going to get them all out. So I highly recommend this. You can do it with another person or do it with yourself, but it's very gratifying if another trusted person can witness you. Set a timer and just say out loud all the things you're afraid of. Feel it, say it. Stop treading water above it, distracting yourself, because then the anxiety just builds. Do you know what I mean? If you know what I mean, comment now or later, please. So the kryptonite is unacknowledged fear. And by the way, if you go back and watch those videos, I also gave other helpful tips with oils that you can use for the alchemist. And then the theme is faith. So the theme of the improviser is trust. The theme of the alchemist is faith. The hack is meditation. Meditation. Dropping into emptiness. Oh my gosh, I love each one of these. I could just talk about them all day. Okay, now we're going to go into, this is going to end up being a longer video. We get it. We have probably 20 more minutes. Let's have fun. Let's play. Now we're getting into the east-west continuum of our compass, our creator compass. And we have in the east, the activist, and in the west, the alchemist. Sorry, the activist, and in the west, the priestess. Activist, priestess. Now, if you can think about this continuum of the improviser and alchemist as everything and no thing, and no thing, presence and emptiness. Here, activist as like the springtime, things going into full creation. Hello world, here I am. I'm coming up. Look at me. Here's what I am. I'm going to the sun. I'm blossoming. Okay? This is the activist. Then summer hits. The decline starts like the time we're in now. The days are light is getting shorter. It's a little bit cooler. The energy starts to go into the inner part of the tree. The leaves get deprived of the nutrients that they had before. They turn color. The wind comes, blows the leaves into compost. The priest. Looked like I had just a little glitch in the connection there. I hope it's okay now. I fall and then into the priestess. The energy of the priestess is about death. It's about going out of form. So while the activist is new life, priestess is death, going out of form. So they're moving this, okay? Moving like this. So the improviser and alchemist are down. These are moving like this. Yeah, feel that? So as you're creating, you can feel these movements in your being. It's like the movement in your being that, I mean, sometimes it can feel like the activist is a bit like the improviser, but the improviser, it's bright and it's spontaneous. It's also very much about presence when it's the work transmits presence, trust. The activist, which is what we're focused on now, the activist is very much about get right what's not right. Remember we talked about that the activist is really activated by what's wrong, by injustice, and creating and becoming what they came here to be. The springtime energy. I'm coming up out of the ground. I'm becoming myself against all odds. I'm doing it. And the priestess is I'm falling, dissolving, and I'm letting go of everything. Okay? For the activist, 5 theme. Magic. I love the magic of activist. It's one I'm a little bit afraid of, but I'm developing more and more over my years. The magic is the magic of disruption. The magic of the activist is a disruptor. When you disrupt something, and because everybody looks at you and maybe they're thinking, who is that person speaking up so loudly or whatever? It might make some part of you cringe, but that energy of being a disruptor shakes things up so that more of what's right, I'll call it right, or more of what's true can emerge and express, and new perspective can come into the room. If we all just agree, even when we don't actually agree, then we lose perspective. The magic of the activist brings in disruption. So the creations bring in disruption often. The superpower is perspective. The kryptonite is fighting. So whenever the type tends to get drawn to like fighting type situations, you know, where there can be a rub, there can be a thing to fight against. But if you stay there, if you're actually creating out of fighting against something, you'll wear yourself out. It truly is your kryptonite. You have to find another way. It can be at the beginning, like, yes, I'm pushing up against something that doesn't feel right, but I'm doing this because I want to bring more perspective in. I'm doing it because I want to bring more justice into the world, not because I'm fighting against something else. Also, if you can relate to that, put it in the comments. A lot of the clients that I have that are that work in the nonprofit sector or used to, they all express a similar thing, that they got in kind of with this fight and then they ended up leaving just tired and broken down and broke through the whole process. And a big part of that was just like pushing against something for so long that wasn't giving. The theme is the creative visionary or creative vision. The hack, my favorite hack, just do it now. The hack for the activist is you have to take action. You have to take action for all of us, by the way, for all of our creative endeavors. It doesn't matter which creator type you identify with. All of our creator endeavors have to have the activist energy to launch into the world. This is really important. You could be feeling so at home as the alchemist. You could meditate. You can bring these amazing things out from your meditative space. If you don't go into activist energy, you won't ever bring it into the world. So if you want to bring your creations into the world, this has to be cultivated. Just do it now. What are you going to do for your next step now for your creations? What is the next step for you? Put yourself on the hook right now. Okay, now we are moving into the priestess. Remember, the priestess is about fall time, Metal element. If I didn't say before, activist is wood element. Priestess is metal element in the Chinese 5 element system. Fall time. The themes of worth, worthiness, the emotion of grief, the lungs, the colon, falling out of form, death, non-attachment. I think that anyone who's a creator can relate to this. It's this experience of being so afraid that what we create won't be found valuable by others. Can you relate? So afraid that what we create won't be found valuable by others, that that's actually what stops us from ever even getting started or definitely launching it into the world. It is the most common thing that I see, and people will refer to it as worthiness stuff or value stuff. I've never met a person that doesn't struggle with this. I've never met even the most confident people that I've worked with have worthiness stuff that comes up when it comes time to offer what they're creating, especially when we're creating from our heart. It's like, oh, it's the most tender. It's the most tender. Oh, it's the most tender. Like, what? Please don't reject me. Please accept what I have. That's what our little tender hearts feel like. Part of the sort of paradox that I love about the priestess creator energy and what it brings up is that when we feel that, like, oh, will you find value in this? Please don't turn it away. Some of you may not feel it like that kind of voice, but you may stop before you release your creations because you have something in there that you're afraid of in terms of this worth value piece and the reflection of that back to you. The paradox is that it's by going through these initiations, which is directly connected to the priestess, the initiations of the priestess, by going through these, that we get to come into more embodiment of our true value, that we get to know that what we're creating and what we're offering up is of true value. It doesn't matter if not everybody can see that. And it doesn't matter if some people say it's not. You come into the knowing in your being, in your bones, of the absolute worth of what it is that is flowing through you, being expressed and being offered up. And we don't get to get that deep knowing until we go through these sort of transformational fires of the priestess, which is to feel all that comes up when we create and we offer something up, and maybe it's not received like we want it to. Maybe it's a course that we created and it didn't sell as many as we wanted to. Maybe it didn't sell any. That happens too. Sometimes we launch something and the first time we launch it, no, it's crickets. Nobody buys it. And then those parts of ourselves that are like, see, I told you. See, you should have never done this. See, you should have never risked. You should have never done this. If we keep going despite that, we go through the initiation of the priestess, we get to become the embodiment of our worth and worthiness. And everything gets to be expressed in fidelity from that. There's nothing else like this on earth. I wish it for all of you. And nobody can go through your initiation but you. Okay, so the magic of the priestess is death, dying. Another way to think about it is by the allowance of death, the allowance of letting things fall out of form. The superpower is acknowledgement, to truly acknowledge, to truly see, to truly acknowledge. The theme is value. The kryptonite is attachment. I'm talking about unproductive attachment. You're holding on to that grievance, you're holding on to that regret, you're holding on to that resentment, you're holding on to the way things should have been, you're holding on to the way your success in the past, and it's not letting you be successful now. Attachment. The hack is reverence. And we can access this anytime we go into prayer or anytime we go into deep acknowledgement of the beauty of what is, that kind of reverence. Sometimes when I'm working with, I don't know where this ability came from in me, but it's like I just when I see people, like I really see them. I really see them. And I don't need to see them. I mean, it's not always true that I don't need to see them in a certain way. I think sometimes with my husband, I need to see him in a certain way, maybe my family members, but others, I don't need to see them in a certain way in order for me to be okay or to love them. I just see them. And I see the extraordinary nature of them exactly as they are. And when I see people in that way, I see the true value. That's the true value without them having to be anything other than they are. I see that. And I feel the treasures from that. And they feel the treasures from that. And we grow more value in the world in that way by truly acknowledging one another when we don't need each other to be a certain way for us to be okay or to validate our experience. It's one of the greatest gifts we could ever give to our fellow humans. And this is very much the priestess energy. The other hack, I have two hacks for priestess. The other hack is renunciation. And I talked about that in great deal on the priestess, in the priestess one. If you didn't listen to it or you didn't get it at the time, go back and listen to it. It's really important. How you doing? What's happening? You want to stretch your body? I hope you all, anyone who's listening now or later, that you take some kind of journey with me at some point beyond this YouTube journey. Take part in one of my offerings, whether it's Roma Point Mastery, Prosperous Circle, which I put the link to in the comments, Abundant Creator, which is a beautiful small group program, or working one-on-one with me in my luminosity journey. I hope that. I would love that. You can reach out to me or to my assistant, Robin, Tiffany at Tiffany Carroll, or Robin at tiffanycarroll.com if you'd like to know more about anything. This is our last one. Chef. We just finished up with the chef. The chef is earth element. So if we have activist over here, priestess over here, improviser over here, alchemist over here, the chef is that circle that holds all of it. It holds all of it. The chef governs the transitions between things as well as has the vessel that can hold it all. So in many ways, the chef creator energy it's one of the most essential to develop because it helps all of your creations to be nourishing for you and for those that engage. Even if it's a priestess creation that's about death and falling out of form, that will be experienced as nourishing in its own way if you have a little dash of chef energy in there. So the chef as earth element has to do with the color yellow, with the emotion sympathy or worry, but it also has to do with like solid care, mother energy, being mothered in the way that you can dream is possible, just to be loved unconditionally, to be held, to be nourished in all the ways that you can be nourished. This is the chef energy. Have you ever had, or have you been a person, because I've been on both sides of this, had a person make you such a delicious meal? They put so much care into it. And then they served you, or perhaps you served yourselves together, this amazing meal, and they told you about what went in it, and you heard the story, and you just felt nourished by their every word. Or conversely, you created a meal. You pulled a little bit of that, a little bit of this from your garden, a little bit of this, and you cooked and you made it all day. And then you get to feed it and offer it up to someone, and they're so happy. And you feel so nourished because they're so nourished and everybody's nourished. That's the chef creator. brings harmony to things. It's sing-songy, it's delicious, it's nourishing. The magic is gratitude. The magic of strong, good chef creator attitude. Strengthen this magic. Be grateful. Practice it. Practice it. Practice gratitude. It's something we get to practice. It's a practice I do every morning, and on occasion when I'm having a real hard time, I forget. Isn't that what is that with, like, when we're having hard times, our beautiful practices go out the window. And then, or I try doing it when I'm having a hard time and it just feels fake. I don't really mean this. Do it anyway. I do it anyway. Even if I don't feel like doing it, I do it anyway. Because if I do it enough and I keep going, I'm able to tune into like the authentic, grateful energy. And we can always find something, even if we're super grumpy and we feel like the world is super against us in that moment. We can always find something to be authentically grateful for. The superpower, nourishment. I don't need more about that. The theme, abundance, 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 true holistic abundance. Things come into form, they go out of form. Everything gets nourished. There's nothing for naught in true holistic abundance. There's nothing for naught. Abundance isn't just about having, it's about releasing, and it's about being nourished by it all. That is the theme of the chef of Earth Element. Kryptonite. Complaining. The hack, service and gratitude, but service work. When the chef creator type is feeling off, or if any of us want to like juice up our chef creator energy, be of service. Do something of service. Put a video on YouTube where you're sharing something from your heart. Make a painting and give it to someone. Donate money somewhere. Help somebody in a grocery store. Do something, not because you expect anything back. Just do it. Just do it. Let what's in you flow out of you and be of service. We made it to the end. We made it to the end. I'm so happy to have been on this journey with you. I'll a few words in closing. It was about 2.5 months ago now. I was thinking about what I wanted to offer up on YouTube to share about the elements and also to help creators. And I was having a meeting with Monica, who is my wonderful social media helper. She also helps with YouTube. And she's also a fantastic healer. And she and I were going back and forth about something. And then this idea just birthed in that moment through our back and forth. And I'm so glad that we did it. And originally when we created it, I was thinking that all along the way I was going to invite people into Aroma Point Mastery, which I'll invite you into that right now. It turned out to be something that was more like chef energy, where I was like, hey, I want to tell you about this that I have, and I want to tell you about this that I have. And I want to tell you right now that Aroma Point Mastery, if you love the oils, or if you want to love the oils more and you want to take a beautiful soul journey with me and other lovely souls, there's a live workshop with me every month. It's 9 months. It's fantastic. Let me see if I can just I'm going to pull up the link right now for you. Aroma Point Mastery begins in October. You can register all the way through, for another month or so. But why not begin now if you feel called to it? And I'm going to share the link with you right now. Okay, my friends, here is the link. What a joy and a pleasure. You can click on that now before I sign off. Thank you so much. And in January, we're going to do another 30-day Aroma Point journey, since my last YouTube channel got terminated and those videos were lost. So stay tuned for that on YouTube. Share these videos, like them if you liked them, and we'll grow this goodness together. Bye.